separating the parties. This is a cycle of self-sustaining sectarian violence that 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, 100,000 Americans will not be able to stop. A central government that is a democracy that is going to be fair to the rest of its citizens. It is not possible. Mark my words.
It's underway, and it's going to happen. There will be a central government with control of its foreign policy, with control of the military.
Vice President Biden this weekend on ABC saying that he is seeing a central government form, but there will be some semi-autonomous governing out in the provinces in Iraq. Said some other interesting things in that interview this weekend. We thought we'd analyze it with the panel. Bill, first of all, on Iraq, what about the dichotomy there?
Well, it would be nice, of course, if he would one time acknowledge that he was wrong, but it's good for the country that he was wrong. It's good for the country that President Bush resisted the entire Democratic Party in Congress for 2 years. And it's good for the country, I think, that President Obama is basically continuing President Bush's policy in Iraq, not Senator Biden or Senator Obama's policies.
Mort?
Well, you know, it is not absolutely a lead pipe cinch that Iraq can exist as a central government. I mean, this is still at issue. The election results haven't worked themselves out yet, and the Kurds are largely independent of the rest of the country. So I'm not sure that in the end Biden version 1 is not going to be correct. But now we have Biden version 2. Someday, I hope it doesn't happen that way. But if the thing falls apart, how Biden will explain that when Bush created a success and the failure would have occurred on Obama's watch.
He said, Charles, that he was not for partitioning Iraq into 3 segments. He was for a decentralized government with stronger provincial governments. However you look at it, it was not followed.
It depends what is means. It depends what the partition means. Look, I don't want to beat up on the guy. He's a nice guy, but I will anyway. Why anyone listens to him on foreign affairs, I don't know. The sage of Wilmington was wrong on the freeze in the 1980s. He was wrong on the Contras. He voted against the Gulf War. Remember the good war about the Kuwait? He voted in favor of the Iraq War, which he then said was the worst mistake ever. And then he repented, and then he opposed the surge, which redeemed the Iraq War and saved us. So now he tells us he was against partition, when in fact he was. Look, I think with Bill, Iraq is still in play. It's not a slam dunk. We've gone a long way. I'm very disturbed by the deadlock that's happened now almost half a year. Al-Sadr showed up in Damascus yesterday. He's the anti-American cleric who was in alliance with the Maliki. He showed up with the guy we like, Alawi, who leads a Sunni Shiite secular coalition, and so there might be a nefarious deal in the works that we don't know. But what's happening in Iraq today is because Obama is so hands-off and because he's so rigid on his withdrawal. Syria is a player, Iran is a player, Turkey is a player in the forming of the new government, and we are not a player, and that is not the way it ought to be. It's not in our national interest.
On Afghanistan, Bill, the Vice President said that the policy that's on the ground now is very similar to what he advocated for behind closed doors, but he can't talk about it fully right now. What about that?
It's been reported and never challenged that he said privately, you can bet that there'll be a huge drawdown of troops in July 2011. He was an advocate of adding that to that deadline, or what's now a transition moment, to the President's speech last December. Now, what's very encouraging to me, and that we paid a big price for that. We paid a price in Afghanistan and Pakistan for that stupid deadline, which was added at the last minute by the President for totally domestic political reasons. Dove, hawk, realist, idealist, whatever your views on Afghanistan, no serious person thinks it's intelligent to say we're going to begin to get out in July 2011 if you're going to send over more troops and have some hope of success. That was added for domestic political reasons. Vice President Biden was for adding it. I hope he repents of that, too. The good thing is yesterday he said on TV, well, you know, that July 2011 deadline, when we could begin to draw down, it could be as few as a couple thousand troops. This is the man who was quoted saying, you can count on us getting out of there after July 2011. Now, thank God, I think General Petraeus is in charge of our Afghanistan policy more than Vice President Biden.
Because Afghanistan officials will tell you privately that the Taliban goes in and says, well, August 2011 will be here.
Absolutely. You know, I think the quicker the administration makes it clear to the parties in the field that the 2011 deadline isn't a real deadline, that we're going to be there, that we are dedicated to winning this war, the better off we're going to be. If this doubt that's created about whether we're staying or whether we're leaving is getting people's throats slit.
Peasant in Kandahar is not watching the Sunday news shows. He doesn't understand all of these nuances. The president set a deadline. He has to undo it in public, otherwise it's going to hurt us endlessly in Afghanistan.
That is it for the panel, but stay tuned for a tough live shot.